an insular community anyway, because we feel like we're the underdogs, and you know, I know people don't really look at it that way too much, but the reason we all got into certain forms of music is because of that anyway, you know, that we found the thing that resonates most with us. But
every year, the second weekend in August, Catton Hall in Derbyshire plays host to the Bloodstock Open Air Festival. And this year, 2022, is absolutely no different. Bloodstock is known for being a safe haven for people in the alternative subculture, where they can come together, they can be themselves, they can dress how they like, they can act how they like, to be with friends and to feel safe away from persecution from others.
Yeah. Everyone's here having a good time, but away from being here, it's a different story in people's everyday lives.
In 2009, the Bloodstock Open Air Festival decided to name their second stage the Sophie Lancaster stage, all in honour of Sophie Lancaster.
But Sylvia was a force herself, you know, and I think it's one of those things that, you know, without her being there, everybody felt that, and that's why it was important this year that we did sort of leave a mark, with what we did to sort of remember her. You know, it's been.
This year's festival marks the 15-year anniversary of Sophie's attacks and her untimely passing. Ladies and gentlemen,
it's your boy, TS.
And Jamie, and welcome to the Chronicles of Podcast.
The Chronicles of Bloodstock 2022.
This next song goes out to Sophie and Sophie Lancaster. I think it's so rad they have a fucking stage named after her at this festival. You all know her story, man. Look out for one another, man. This is all we have is us, right? That's what this is about. Look out for each other. These are your fucking people, you know what I'm saying? Remember that.
Now, this year's festival was so special in more ways than one. Not only was it 15 years since the attack on Sophie, but it was also the first time that the Bloodstock community had come together since we lost Sylvia Lancaster earlier this year. And to celebrate and honour her, Bloodstock decided to turn pink all day on Sunday. Everyone coming together, losing the black, losing the denim, to don the pink.
Myself and Rachel went to Sylvia's funeral earlier in this year. And one of the things that Sylvia had requested for the funeral was that everybody wore something pink. So, you know, and it was explained at the time over the funeral that pink was Sylvia's favourite colour. And, you know, we just thought it would be a nice testament to Sylvia, the foundation, all the work she's done, that, we encouraged everybody as much as possible to show that support.
They looked incredible, by the way, unreal. All in the name of one very special and incredible lady. Here is Jamie talking to Alison Vincent from the Sophie Lancaster Foundation to talk all about their current campaign and what they are trying to achieve in order to fulfill Sylvia's wish and her main aim from the beginning.
The Law Commission were asked to look at the hate crime strands, and that is the actual monitored strands of hate crime, which there are currently 5. And one of the strands they looked at adding was alternative subculture. And since Sophie was murdered, Sylvia was absolutely determined that that should be added as a monitored strand, because that means if anyone's in need, if they've been attacked, if they've got a problem and they ring the police, it's recognised, they know what it is. If things are tried then as a hate crime, victims get more support. And it also obviously means we're monitoring what goes on. We can put resources where they're needed, so it really, really matters. Anyway, the Law Commission looked at it and yet again recommended that alternative subculture isn't added as a hate crime, which is devastating for us, because it means if it was fully embraced, it's treated with the same significance as other strands of hate, which is all we want to happen. One of the reasons they said they didn't actually agree with it is they said there wasn't enough evidence that actually alternative people were targeted. And you need to be in our office for literally a week, a month, and you see the phone calls, you see the emails, you actually hear on the ground how people's lives are being affected by hate crime now. So what we wanted to do is say, okay, you've not got the evidence that alternative people are being targeted, so let us do that.
And the alternative subculture, which is kind of really been coined after from Sylvie and her work with hate crime and stuff, is around anybody that lives this alternative lifestyle, and for a long time, like, we are marginalised, while some of it is partly that we want to be different and we want to be out there, and that's kind of when we're younger we do that, but actually everyone's right is to be different, and everyone's right is to be able to walk this earth, and for fear of any kind of prejudice or discrimination or aggression, as what happened in violence, is what happened with Sophie.
For a community of people who just want to be themselves, to listen to the music that they want to listen to dress how they want to dress without being persecuted and treated differently, places like Bloodstock, Download Festival, they are a safe haven for these people. They can be amongst people who are like them, who aren't going to treat them differently, who aren't going to say horrible things towards them, simply for being who they want to be. So why is it that places like Bloodstock are so important?
I mean, we know that what happened to Sophie Lancaster and her boyfriend were terrible. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's just kind of like, it's a privilege to be included in such a great event that holds such a strong connection to the Sophie Lancaster Foundation. And you know, there's nothing really more to say about it. It's a privilege to be there and just like flying the flag for Sophie and others alike, because you know that kind of stuff that happened to Sophie and her boyfriend, it happens to so many people around the world, happens to everyone really growing up in this world who's into more of an alternative lifestyle, just at a lower level. I think parents and kids alike kind of hope that it doesn't get to the stage that it unfortunately got to with Sophie growing up, because you do feel different, you do look different, and you have a different kind of routine to a lot of the other kids that you kind of rub shoulders with growing up, and they do judge you, and it's tough to get through. But it's when you get past that and you're surrounded by like-minded individuals and you realize that you're not alone, that's just it's just an honor to be here, really.
It's community that I have found. I mean, we've all had kind of shit pasts, and you find the right people to be around, and this is literally the place every year that you see the right people, and you know that you're going to have a good weekend, because regardless of if it's the people that you're camping with that you kind of see all throughout the year anyway, because they're some of your closest friends, or if they're people that you met last year and you want to see again, or if they're brand new people that you've never met before, that you're going to kind of bump into them while you're having a piss. You're standing in the queue and you have a conversation while you're going for your morning piss at the campsite. It's such a good community, and
that's what I love about Bloodstock, is it's accepting. Same with Download and things like that. You go there and you know you're part of a group of people. So yeah, it's just
the community anyway, because we feel like we're the underdogs, and I know people don't really look at it that way too much, but the reason we all got into certain forms of music is because of that anyway. That we found the thing that resonates most with us, but and that can be really niche at times and very fringe, and that's so when you get a big group of people together that have that in common, it's just only a beautiful thing. Everybody celebrates the music that's impacted their lives and changed their lives for the better, I think.
Everybody gets together, it's a safe fucking space, everybody's okay, we've got each other's backs, don't worry about what other fucking people say. But
I mean, you could ask everyone here, I'm sure one in every two people will have their own story at least, and it's sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone's here having a good time, but away from being here, it's a different story in people's everyday lives. And I mean, this is an escape. This is why stuff like this is more important than just the music that's playing. It's the socialising and feeling accepted for the weekend. You get a weekend of feeling good about yourself, and it's not fair, is it?
No. I love being at places like Bloodstock, on Download, Damnation, because when you're on your own and you're an alternative kid, it kind of feels isolating. But when you get to come to somewhere like this, where everyone's there specifically for the music, there to be amongst people who are like-minded, you can really feel a sense of home and family. And this is why there'll be kids out there 15 years old who are the odd one out in their school, and finally they're in a sea of people just like them, and they'll be coming every year because of that. We've all got to band together, strength in numbers.
I walk past people, I'm like, that's a brilliant shirt, that's a brilliant shirt, this stuff. It might be curry sauce, it might be dust, I haven't figured it out. But it's like everyone you walk past is like, that was an amazing shirt, that is a beautiful beard. Like, it was just, you can just talk to people, no matter what it is. I literally spent the last hour running around before cattle decapitation with a bag of ice going, do you want some ice on your neck? And people are like, yes, absolutely now. And like, I wouldn't do that outside of here.
Yeah, well,
it's acceptable here.
This music changed my life. Ever since I was like teeny tiny and I stole a bunch of cassettes off my brother. It's like, first time I made an album, Highway to Hell by AC/DC, first Motorhead record, well, cassette actually. But yeah, and then that's that. Then as soon as you're in, and that's your life, whether you like it or not.
You know, the family only exists because people want to be part of it. So, you know, that shout out goes not only to obviously ourselves, but also everybody that attends, you know, from crew, from bands, from fans and everybody else that walks through those gates. You know, we all make it what it is and we all want the same thing. Just a weekend of you know, no judgment and enjoying what we love.
Easy to see during our time at Bloodstock was people not being able to understand why they are treated differently, why they are given abuse for wanting to be themselves, wanting to dress a certain way to listen to the certain music that they want to listen to. At the end of the day, the alternative subculture is a very inclusive community. You will find people from all different backgrounds, sexuality, races and creeds, no matter what it is, all coming together because they like the same sort of music. And why isn't the world like that in general? Why are people treated differently? Because they want to listen to a sort of music. As one of the gentlemen in this video says, at the end of the day, we all bleed red. So why is it we are treated differently for no reason at all?
We have some of the best people on the planet, some of the best bands, some of the best places we can go to which we're generally accepted in. But there are some ne'er-do-wells who just don't get it, and they won't ever do until they sort of talk to us about it. But the thing is that...
And she lost her life because of narrow-mindedness. And it's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Yeah, absolutely needs to change. This cannot be tolerated. There should be no tolerance for this kind of behaviour at all. You know, nobody should be criticised for how they dress, how they look, what gender they are. No matter what you are, we're all human beings. We're all bleed red. Who gives a damn what you are in? Exactly, you know, that's exactly what it is. We're all one race. Yeah. Why should there be anything like hatred like that? Disgusting.
It's just crazy how judgmental like the typical person seems to be in this day and age, especially. It is mind blowing because when you're in this scene, you don't see a lot of it at all because everyone's sort of similar, aren't they? Everyone gets along with each other. There's no judgment. But when you're outside the scene, like when you're in school, where you can't be with all your metalhead friends or whatever, it's just brutal, and you can't. It's 2022 and it's still going on. Yeah, it is mind blowing.
It's very prevalent what you say though, because you know you're saying you don't walk around dressed as metalheads and stuff like that, so you don't get it. Yeah. But then there's people that do, who listen to the exact same music as you. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure if they were to hear you sing, they'd be like, "What the fuck?"
Literally no different from us. Just whatever t-shirt you're wearing. Who judges you on your t-shirt or your pants or your haircut, whatever?
It's a horrible thing because it's not just discrimination on people's looks, it's their lifestyle, you know, it's their everything of who they are, and unfortunately it happens across the board with lots of communities. So
like the whole rock, metal, goth community, like we don't care, like literally we're so accepting of other people, and we just want them to be as accepting as we are to them, like, you know, like vice versa and stuff like that. So, and you're right.
I thought everyone should have the right to be able to walk this earth safely. It doesn't matter whether it's their race and ethnicity, their religion, their gender identity, their sexuality, their choice in lifestyle, like whatever it is, like you have a right to walk this earth free of this persecution. And so for me, that's what that charity stands for, and so I stand for that charity, you know.
You know, like someone might argue with me against this, but like I bet if you looked at like Sophie and her boyfriend and the people that did the attack, I bet their backgrounds aren't even like that dissimilar. Do you know what I mean? They're from the same town. No, they're not alternative, and Sophie was, and that was what caused the attack. But like, it just makes me think about the way you treat other people, and just because you look different, like, you know, why does that fucking matter? You know what I mean? But like, you know, they're from the same fucking town. They're probably the same. I don't know if you want to say you're working class or middle class or whatever. They're probably very similar. But just because one person is different, and we really have that like dividing this
Our
country.
experience has obviously been a lot different to a lot of metalheads because, as you can see, like we don't look like your typical metalheads usually. I'm wearing a Creed t-shirt, but we've had it quite easy.
We've had it quite
in
easy
the
to
metal way where we've not had abuse hurled at us, and I think that just shows how much people really do judge what you're wearing, and it just shows how much of a problem it is.
I don't judge other people how they look. Why are they judging me? That's exactly what it is, and it shouldn't be like that.
Exactly.
You know,
we're all just fucking people. Yeah, life is shit enough without trying to flirt with fucking hating someone who just looks a bit different from you. You like a different type of music. It's bullshit, man. You know?
It's ridiculous.
And it's like, where does that come from? And I don't think it really stems from the people who act in that way. I think it does come from like above. You know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Absolutely.
You may remember at the beginning of this video that we heard from Alison Vincent of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, and she talked all about how the government decided in December of 2021 that there wasn't really enough evidence to make the alternative subculture a hate crime, even though we know ourselves or people that we know have been targeted and treated differently because of the way they look, the way they dress, or the music they listen to. So what we set out to achieve was to talk to the Bloodstock community and hear their stories and basically prove a point that this stuff still happens to this day just because of how we dress, the way we look, or the music we listen to.
Man, like I dealt with it throughout school. I was the only kid with the long hair and the skinny jeans. I think you speak to the majority of the people at this festival at one point in their life, they've probably been made fun of or laughed at for listening to what they do, or like, oh, why do you listen to that and this, that, and the other. And you know what? Like, I feel sorry for those people in a way because they're very closed-minded, and I'm very happy to be part of this community, and it is something that needs to be spoken about more.
And it's like when you're outside of this festival scene, I mean, I commute for my job. I don't have anybody sit next to me because I'm the tall, gothy, weird one. So you sat on a commute to Cambridge, just like twiddling your thumbs. You've got all the room in the world because no one wants to sit next to you. But you get
uncomfortable sometimes just going out in like metal clothes. I've got clothes that I only wear to Bloodstock or Download because I don't feel right out in public. But that shouldn't be. That shouldn't be the case.
Why should you have to feel uncomfortable being who you are?
Yeah. It's like you wear like a battle jacket. You see thousands of them around this weekend. Battle jacket in New Rocks. You walk down the town in our town centre.
I feel nervous wearing a battle jacket.
And you do kind of get these style looks. If what are they wearing? That sort of look, you know. And it's not right.
Every day, it's that, you know, there's disdainful looks. I very rarely get anything verbally or anything audibly said to me, because you know I look like a biker. Not today, I don't. I'm in a pink dress. But you know, I look like a grr man, so I'm quite lucky that I haven't experienced bullying in that capacity because of the way I look. I look like I could be a bit tasty, you know, and I'm not, but. You know, I'm the biggest wimp in the world and I love a cuddle. Yeah. So, in terms of, I've seen it with other people, right? You know, and I've seen people been hit just for the way they look in town. They're like going around Bristol. I've seen people just started on just because they were like a little bit different and not even majorly different. You know, so yeah, absolutely. I've experienced it. I haven't experienced it myself, thankfully, but I've certainly seen it. You know?
The reason
I was the only kind of punk in school, like, you know, spike my hair going into school, so you'd always get, you know, picked on, bullied or whatever. You know, kids are cruel, and but it's when you came outside of that and you started growing up as a teenager, you know, walking down the street and then being set upon, like that was where the issue, and not purely for just walking down the street, like not doing anything other than being, like I said, you and walking down there. So
yeah. I've been in situations where I've been stopped by groups, I've been beaten to the ground before.
No.
Unfortunately, I managed to kind of roll up and run. I was very lucky, but so I get it.
If you grew up as a goth or an emo, on the bus, getting bags thrown at you. We got chased out of school. We literally had to be escorted back into school. I grew up in Warrington, and everyone's a chav. There was a very small amount of our school that was alternative, and we all hung out in the same place because it's the only place you were really safe. And they chased us out of school. They were throwing massive logs at us. They were going to get us, essentially. It would have been, and there was hundreds of people chasing us.
I used to have really long hair in high school. I didn't get it too bad because I was like bigger than other kids, but I had like friends who got
rough as fuck, and they would like come to school and stuff because they're like scared like just because they like stupid music and things like that. Yeah. I think everyone expects in high school about actually being murdered for fucking getting off is like insane. I think, and I kind of put in.
Years ago, I was headed out of an evening to see my friends. It was towards like bonfire nights, and a group of teenagers had thrown a firework at me, like aiming for me, and it just missed me by like 10 feet.
Wow.
Had stuff on public transport, the girl used to sit next to me. Lots of like verbal abuse as well. It's quite common.
What about yourself?
Obviously I do like horror performing, so a lot of the time I'm in like all these like ridiculously weird like demon costumes or like heavy corpse paint for events, and a lot of times it's like in the middle of like city centres of different places, and the amount of comments that you just get constantly for just looking a certain way. And like
my entire school time, my upbringing, from the day I started becoming interested in alternative music, there was a horrible response from other people that were around me, not necessarily my friends because we were friends, but I don't want to label them, but like the chavvy crowd. The fact that I was alternative and into that sort of stuff and had longer hair, and it didn't go down too well. And it's like I had one experience where it was about a group of 20 people. I was out with a load of friends, and I had 20 people thereabouts approach me and confronting me about the way I looked, and I was with a couple of friends at the time, and one of them grabbed me in a headlock and started hitting me in the stomach. They were saying things to do with obviously the way I looked and the things I was into. They were people that I was in school with. They were in my school my year at school, and I ended up with about 6 or 7 of them sort of taking it in turns to hit me. Jesus. Yeah, and tried to run away. They got a friend of mine. They got him in the front garden of someone else's house. He was on the floor and they were kicking him, and I ran, and they ended up catching up to me, and then the numbers of people trying to hit me increased, and it was a pretty horrible experience. So I mean, the good thing about it is I never changed. Regardless of that happening, I'm still here. I'm still at Bloodstock, and I'm still into that metal music and even darker music than I was then, to be fair. Like, so I've always sort of had that attitude as I am who I am. Fuck off.
I love like a knuckle duster because of the way I looked. Like I used to have long blonde hair. Like loved it. Loved fucking being seen and emo, and it was like my thing. Like I was banging to MySpace back in the day, and I was a MySpace king. And like I got assaulted, and there was no rhyme or reason behind it. The only reason was because I looked different, and he took it upon himself to do it. I didn't antagonise the guy. Like he walked across the street. I did everything I was supposed to do, which was stand up for myself, but also walk away. My mum had always taught me that, like walk away, and I went to walk away and punched her in the face with a 3-ring knuckle duster and separated my nose. And that was a really defining moment, as you said. It's not just the incident; it's the reliving of that. Like I went for a long kind of period of time of recovery, and still to this day, like I still have moments like no one will get into my face again. Like it's not going to happen, and it's not because I think I'm hard or I'll do anything about it. It's just because I just won't be in that situation, and that's purely because of that situation. But equally, what it's done is define my life in a certain other way, which is supporting other people to be able to kind of deal with that and talk about that and open up about that. Like, the more we talk about it, the more we can kind of make sense of it. And I've forgiven the guy. Like, it was what it was. He was on a certain journey in his life. He's on a different journey now. He went to prison for what he did and came out, and he kind of turned his life around a little bit. So, like, I don't hold any animosity to him, but as you said, that residual effect is still there. So whilst I can say, whatever, and I could share a beer with the guy, like, doesn't mean that hasn't affected me for life, To
school on my first day with funky hair and a pixie cut and was being called gay or Satanist and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
On the first day?
From basically 12 and 13-year-olds.
Wow. I hate that these stories still make me speechless, but it's unbelievable. How did you cope with that though?
Not very well.
Not very well.
I hated it because it's school, and I really enjoyed school until high school. I went up and it was just awful. The things people were saying, just shouldn't be allowed.
No, it's not. But did you talk to anyone about it? Anyone in school?
My mum and my guidance counsellor, who did absolutely nothing.
Let me guess. It's to be expected.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is the exact attitude that we're setting out to change, because it's not to be expected. People should feel free to be themselves. Yeah. And I'm so sorry you've had to go through that, and it's disgusting.
It is.
But how are you now? Are you through?
I'm very much just don't care anymore. I'm like, it's me.
That's what we like. That's what we like. Be proud to be yourself, because you're awesome. Now the question you might be asking yourself is, what can I do? What can I do to help, to make a difference for the alternative community? What can I do? And the answer is simple. It's communicate. There are many forms of communication in this world, and it's the one thing that as a human race we are probably the worst at. Now, whether that be on a large scale, reaching out to those in the public eye, or whether that be dealing with friends and family, whatever you can do to help is so important to spread this message. It was Sylvia's wish to have the alternative subculture classed as a hate crime, and as we've seen in this video, it is clearly the case that it should be classed as a hate crime. So whatever you can do to help, please do. Please speak to your fellow man.
And this is the kind of misconception people have. They think, metalheads are all big burly bikers and all that type of stuff, and they're not. These are kids. I've got daughters who love the music, and I've got lots of friends who are very sort of slight as people as well, and they don't go out there looking for trouble or anything else. They just want to enjoy a genre of music and have a passion for something, and the mere fact that they have that desire to be that way doesn't give anybody the right to sort of jump on the backs. It's completely wrong. So we'll keep fighting that cause and make sure that message is clear.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you get out of that mindset of like, they're different from me, like, just talk to people, you find that you're very similar, man. You're just like fucking people trying to live and go to your jobs, whatever, like, and then you go out and do stuff that you like, and everyone does that shit, but there's no need to fucking fight over it. I mean, it's been happening, happened in the 80s, the mods and rockers were at it all the time, and I know, human beings are naturally, tribalistic and stuff like that, but I don't know, man, I don't see a dude in a tracksuit and think I'm gonna fucking fuck that guy up,
Not everything starts at the point of violence. With what happened to Sophie, there was a spark there somewhere amongst those individuals that made them take that step, and I think the biggest thing is recognising those behaviours in the people around us and calling them out when we see them. And it's difficult. It's difficult for especially with family and with friends. If you see toxic behaviours or you see people, oh my God, jitter, look at the state of that. You know what I mean? Most of the time we'll go, oh, it's family, and it's friends. But those behaviours aren't called out at the source, and that's why you end up with people who can do horrendous things because they've never been held accountable for it.
But myself as well, I genuinely speak about being kind, civil and compassionate, and that isn't about being friends with everybody and being best mates. That's not realistic, but what it is the first thing you do in all situations is treat people with kindness and be active in your kindness. Not, oh well, I'm not horrible, so that's enough, or I'm not racist, or I'm not homophobic, or I'm not transphobic. That's not enough. You have to be actively inclusive, and that's really, really important to me. So before you speak, elongate that time before that thought leaves your mind and it goes into action, whether that's a punch, whether that's a word. Elongate that time, take that breath. We've all been heated before, we've all thought about doing things before, that's just life, but you've got to elongate that time. You get taught it when you're younger, don't you? You get taught count to 10, and then we unlearn it, and it's and we get taught be kind to people, ask questions, ask for advice, ask for support. That's what we're taught. Everybody's taught that in school, and when we unlearn it because we think that we should know better or we do know better, there's an inherent arrogance to just doing what you want all the time. We don't live in that world. That's not what I'm for. So, yeah, long-winded answer, really.
The most important thing you can do today to help the foundation to achieve their goal of ensuring that the alternative subculture is made a hate crime, and to look after people like myself, like yourself, and those around you in our community is to head on over to SophieLancasterFoundation.com, where there is a questionnaire to fill out, and all that information will be used to help not only this generation, but generations to come. Here again to tell you all about it and what you can do to help is Alison Vincent from the Sophie Lancaster Foundation.
We've put a questionnaire on our website under the hate crime tab, SophieLancasterFoundation.com, and telling us in the alternative community, what is it like for you? You know, are you safe? What's happening? How did it make you feel? And then that means we can keep that data, we can talk to government, we can talk to the Law Commission, we can talk to the police, but also we'll embed everything we learn into our work. So when we talk to schools, when we talk to the NHS, when we talk to the police, we will make sure what you're telling us is actually embodied in our work. So that's what we're asking. Go to the website, find the questionnaire and fill it in, and we'd be really grateful.
You know, it's disgusting what happened to Sophie, and like reading more about it, coming up to this festival as well. I was reading more about how it is in 2022, and seeing how it's still not a hate crime as well is disgusting. It's not considered anything like serious to the actual government or the law, and that shit still happens. It still happens in school, and that's why places like this. It's not all like doom and gloom. It's not all like doom music and screaming and this and that and anger. It's putting that anger in good places, and it's putting that negativity to something good, which I guess is what you were just saying then about how it's as disgusting as it might sound, like something good coming out of it is the Sophie Lancaster Foundation that's raising awareness to these concerns that are very, very serious. And if it doesn't happen to them physically, it'll happen to them mentally. Their mental health will take the beating. You know, it's a real thing. It still happens.
I personally, as well, just wanted to give a massive shout out to absolutely everyone that was willing enough to talk about their story and to talk to us personally. We really appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. You know, the fact that this stuff still happens this day in 2022 is just absolutely astounding, and it shouldn't be the case. And we hope that with this video, you know, we can start to make a difference and we can start to make a change. So thank you to absolutely everybody that supports us, that supports the Sophie Lancaster Foundation. You're all legends, you're all heroes, you're all champions. And we look forward to seeing you next year for the Chronicles 2023.
When you're a kid and you're the kid that's into the music that isn't the cool thing to like or that everybody else likes, and you dress in a certain way, because the thing with this music is it's not just like, there's very few people that get into a form of music like this and then don't go wholesale with it.
Yeah.
Because it's not just that, it's your entire lifestyle, and it's the way you dress, and it's the other people that you share your time with and connect with. And that will always be something that people that don't get it will always kind of, whether it's just like a weird snide comment or a raised eyebrow, through to the most extreme case, which is something like that.